Lords of the Fallen released a little bit over a year ago as of recording this video, and this game was promised to be the next big Souls-like, an open world that was a dual world system that you could teleport back and forth between with interesting puzzles, amazing gear, and a ton of fun weapons for you to use. But at launch, this game was plagued with a massive problem, performance issues, and a very underwhelming score of 6.10 on Steam. This game was just not what it was promised to be and had continually broken promises throughout its entire life cycle that the devs just couldn't keep up with. So the question I want to ask today is, does Lords of the Fallen hold up? And a year later, have these problems been fixed? And is the game at least fun to play and immersive for the normal gamer? So that is what we are going to discuss today. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So let's recap first. Lords of the Fallen was slated to release last year, October 13th, 2023, across every single platform, Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. This game was promised to have a seamless co-op of multiplayer at launch, meaning we could play with our friends right away, which for Elden Ring players was extraordinarily exciting because it was marketed as a game where you could pick up, get your friends in the game, and play through bosses without losing them after the boss fight. All of us Elden Ring and Dark Souls players were incredibly excited. Lords of the Fallen was also marketed as the very first game that had two separate games within it. What I mean by this is you go around Axiom, which is the overworld and the main kingdom. However, you are able to traverse through Umbral, which is the undead realm, allowing you to gain certain access to puzzles, loot, and other odds and ends that you would find throughout all of Lords of the Fallen. There also was a new game plus system that we were very excited about because typically that comes with a great challenge and extends the longevity of the game, allowing players to continue playing long after launch. Needless to say, we were all incredibly excited for this game to hit the shelves and for us to start downloading it as soon as it was available. So, what happened? Sadly, like many games that are advertised to be another game's killer or the next best thing, we were lied to. For example, the co-op that was supposed to be seamless wasn't even in the game at launch. You had hundreds of thousands of people leaving horrible reviews on Steam, and rightfully so, because the game that was advertised was not what was hitting shelves. The frame rate drops that you got from just loading into a normal playthrough were absolutely incredible. I thought I was playing a game that had been released 15 years ago for how much stuttering, glitching through the map, and overall crashing that I was experiencing. I vividly remember streaming this game, and the game could not be run at the same time as I was streaming, and I have a really high-end PC. It just was such a massive disappointment, and the entire community was crying out. Every single patch that was released to fix a problem or group of problems just caused many more, and the game seemed to be in utter shambles with no end to these bugs and crashes in sight. Not to mention, one of the very first patches that came out actually gave every single boss in the game 10% more health, which was completely unnecessary, as some of the boss fights were so buggy and rough at the beginning of the game that you almost needed luck to be able to beat them. And the other major issue is that Lords of the Fallen was marketed as a live service game, having an entire roadmap and a bunch of promises that could never come to pass because they spent so much time patching this buggy and glitched out game that everything kept getting pushed farther and farther away. So with those being just a few of the massive issues that we encountered at launch, they ended up being so bad that only a month after Lords of the Fallen was released, it had lost about 80% of its player base. I feel some of this is because the New Game Plus mode we were led to believe was going to be so fun and add longevity to the game actually ended up being so hard in the weirdest ways possible. As you go through Lords of the Fallen, you stop at the Vestiges, which are very much like bonfires in any Souls-like game or grey sites in Elden Ring. However, the way that they made New Game Plus harder is that they made the checkpoints in between those Vestiges really long, which didn't make a whole lot of sense and immediately sapped all the joy out of New Game Plus, therefore everybody left. So where does that leave us now? in October of 2024. Are all the issues fixed? Are people even still playing this game? Is it even worth your time? Or should you just keep it in the uninstalled pile or throw it away completely? Well, I've been playing now for the better part of 20 hours just so I can answer that question for you. So let's start out with the multiplayer. That was the biggest selling point for me going into Lords of the Fallen last year, and the fact that it was nowhere to be found was absolutely soul-crushing. So, in regards to the multiplayer, I am incredibly happy to report that the multiplayer or seamless co-op in Lords of the Fallen is, in my opinion, absolutely flawless. It is everything that you want it to be when using seamless co-op in Elden Ring, and it is so easy to use. Every single time I was able to summon somebody in within just a few minutes, and there's still a ton of people playing this game. There were a lot of really great features to the multiplayer that I really enjoyed, one of which being when you die in a boss fight, you do not get separated, you both just start out again at the previous vestige or seedling ready to go back into the boss fight. This allows for an uninterrupted game session with friends or random people you can find in the matchmaking. The multiplayer in Lords of the Fallen is almost identical to Elden Ring in the fact that if you are playing with a friend or a random person you find in matchmaking, then you can be invaded. You also will get items when you kill your invader, and there are also many different ways to play multiplayer. You can summon a lamp bearer to yourself, you can go to a lamp bearer, you can do PvP and just go and invade somebody, or you can beckon a friend and get one of your friends on your friends list to join you at any time. Needless to say, I think that the multiplayer is exactly where it needed to be at launch, and I'm really glad that it's finally where the devs envisioned it, and I've had a lot of fun engaging in the multiplayer within Lords of the Fallen. I was also very surprised when I realized that I was summoning in people from PlayStation and PC without any problem at all. As stated before, I am playing this on the Xbox, and I know crossplay was something that they said was going to happen at launch, but definitely didn't happen right away. I am also pleased to announce that crossplay works flawlessly as well. It doesn't matter what you are playing on or the lamp bearers you are summoning into your world, you will get people from all different platforms, which also helps to bring summon time way down as you can draw from a larger pool of players. Now, the biggest question I had when returning to Lords of the Fallen was, have they fixed the performance issues? Because as stated before, when Lords of the Fallen was initially released, that was one of the biggest problems that they could not seem to solve, patch after patch after patch. You had frame rate drops, you had crashes, you had every bug imaginable that made this game unplayable. But as I've been playing through this game again in the 20 plus hours that I've played so far, I have had only one instance where I had a frame rate drop. This drop only lasted for about 3 seconds, and then the game corrected itself, and I haven't had one since. I was incredibly impressed and very, very excited that I could now play Lords of the Fallen without any performance issues at all. There are no frame rate drops, there is no stuttering, there is no problem within multiplayer or summoning or being summoned to another world to play with a friend, and this is a massive, massive relief. However, I do wonder if it's a little bit too late, because obviously by the Steam numbers, there aren't nearly as many people playing this game as there once were at launch. Graphically, the game looks better than it did at launch as well. I know there has been over 25 patches to this game, and I haven't extensively looked into what each patch brought, but it does seem like there was some patches that went over some of the graphic challenges of this game and have since smoothed everything out for the Lords of the Fallen version that we have right now. So after saying all that over the past 9 or so minutes, the question remains, is Lords of the Fallen worth it in October of 2024? Or is this game better off left not played at all? Well, I think after all the time that I spent playing it, making this video, and doing more research into what happened at launch, I believe this game is worth giving a second chance. Graphically, the game is stunning, the boss fights are really hard but very rewarding once you defeat them, And it is a lot of fun to play, which I think is the most important aspect of any video game. The people you encounter playing in multiplayer are devoted and typically have been playing since launch, so if you ever get lost or need to know which way to go, typically these people will lead you to exactly where the next item is, level is, or piece of gear you need in order to progress. I feel like if you were to give Lords of the Fallen another chance, you would actually really enjoy it at this point. However, this might be another case of it's been worked on for a year, but at this point it's way too late because the majority of the player base has pretty much moved on, and if we got this game at launch, I think Lords of the Fallen would have definitely been the recipient of Game of the Year, or at least been a runner-up. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video and like the content you're seeing, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification on the way out, and until next time, stay safe, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one.